My world swam back into focus with a sharp, stabbing pain in my ribs and the taste of snow and blood in my mouth. I'd lost my PPSH in the fall, the unforgiving slope ripping it from my grasp. Disarmed, bruised, and half buried in a snowdrift at the bottom of the ravine, I was, for a moment, utterly vulnerable. The cacophony of battle still raged above, a hellish symphony of machine guns, rifle fire, and the deeper, guttural roar of heavy tank engines. It sounded like the very gates of perdition had opened atop the ravine's edge. "Sergeant, Alexei!" Ivan's booming voice cut through the ringing in my ears. His massive form appeared above me, silhouetted against the gray, smoky sky. He reached down a hand like a bear's paw and hauled me to my feet with an ease that belied my weight. "The gun! I lost my gun!" I rasped, spitting out a mouthful of snow. My head throbbed. "No time for that now," Ivan grunted, already scanning the steep, snow-covered banks of the ravine. "We are here. Others too." He helped me stumble a few meters along the narrow ravine floor. Vasily was there, the DP-28, set up on a small, precarious ledge of frozen earth, its muzzle pointing back up the slope we just descended. Pyotr was already kneeling beside Dmitri, who lay propped against the ravine wall, his face a mask of pain, though he was conscious. His trouser leg was now soaked a dark, ugly crimson. "How is he, Pyotr?" I asked, my voice still hoarse. Pyotr looked up, his young face strained. "The bleeding has slowed, Sergeant. I've bandaged it tightly. Shrapnel, I think, deep in the thigh. It missed the artery, miraculously, but it needs proper cleaning, and he's lost blood. He can't move on this." He held up a wicked, twisted piece of metal he'd presumably pulled from the wound. Dmitri tried to smile. A weak, ghastly attempt. Still got the ammo pans, Sergeant," he whispered, gesturing to the canvas bags beside him. The boy's spirit was infuriatingly, admirably unbroken. "Good lad," I managed, clapping him gently on the shoulder. But my mind was racing. Trapped, wounded, light on ammunition for the PPSH, assuming I could even find it. And who knew how many pans Vasily had left for the Degtyaryov? And Kostya, where was Kostya? "Kostya?" I asked, looking at Ivan and Vasily. Ivan shook his head, his expression grim. "Did not see him come over the edge. He was covering your retreat, Sergeant, from the east flank." My heart sank. Kostya, the old farmer, out there alone, facing down Panzers and grenadiers with a bolt-action rifle. A brave fool, a hero, or a dead man. I prayed he'd found another way, another hiding place. But the forest out there was now a killing field, swarming with Germans. The ground vibrated almost continuously now. The heavy tread of the Panther and Tiger tanks was directly above us, patrolling the lip of the ravine. We could hear their engines idling, then revving, the squeal of their tracks as they turned. Loose snow and small stones occasionally cascaded down the steep slopes, dislodged by their movement. We were like rats in a drain pipe, with wolves pacing overhead. "They know we came this way," Vasily said, his voice low, his eyes fixed on the top of the ravine. "They will not just leave us." "They'll send infantry down to flush us out," I agreed. "Or just wait. We can't stay here forever. Dmitri needs proper medical attention, or that leg will go bad. Not to mention the cold, the hunger that would soon set in. "What are your orders, Sergeant?" Ivan asked, his gaze steady on mine. In the face of overwhelming odds, his calm was a rock. Orders. I needed to think, but the throbbing in my head and the sheer desperation of our plight made clarity difficult. Retreat further down the ravine? It might offer temporary escape, but where did it lead? Into another German blocking position? Towards an open field where the tanks could pick us off at leisure. Attack? With 4 walk-in wounded, 1 seriously, and limited ammunition against Panzers and a company of grenadiers? That wasn't an order. It was a suicide pact. My eyes scanned the ravine walls. They were steep, almost sheer in places, a mix of frozen earth, exposed rock, and tangled roots. Difficult to climb, especially under fire. But perhaps, just perhaps, difficult for the Germans to descend in force too. "We need to find a defensible spot," I said, thinking aloud. "Some overhang, a deeper cleft in the rock, something that gives us cover from above, limits their angles of attack if they try to come down." "This ravine might twist," Ivan suggested. "Might offer a bend for cover." "All right. Ivan, you scout ahead, carefully, not too far. See if this gorge offers any better protection further along. Vasily, keep that gun ready. Pyotr, stay with Dmitri. Keep him warm. If you see any sign of infection, tell me immediately." Ivan nodded and slipped away, moving with his uncanny silence despite the loose scree on the ravine floor. The waiting was agonizing. Every scrape of metal from above, every shouted German command that drifted down, too indistinct to understand, but menacing nonetheless, sent a sturdy-looking branch and began to probe the snowdrift where I'd fallen, desperately hoping to find my PPSH. My fingers were numb, my body ached. Minutes later, Ivan returned. "Ravine narrows further on, Sergeant. Then a sharp bend to the west. A small cave-in on one side, under an overhang. Might give some shelter from eyes above, but the floor is choked with fallen rocks there. Difficult passage if we need to run." A cave-in, an overhang. It was better than nothing. "We move," I decided. "Vasily, you and I will help Dmitri. Ivan, take point, then cover our rear once we're moving." Moving Dmitri was a slow, agonizing process. Every jolt sent waves of pain through him, despite his stoic silence. Vasily, strong as an ox, took most of his weight, while I tried to support his injured leg, keeping it as steady as possible. Pyotr scurried alongside, carrying the medical bag and Dmitri's rifle. The journey was short, perhaps only 50 meters, but it felt like miles. The ravine floor was uneven, littered with icy rocks and patches of deeper snow. Above, the unseen German tanks continued their patrol, a constant, terrifying reminder of our cage. Finally, we reached the spot Ivan had described. A sharp bend did indeed offer some visual cover from straight down the ravine. And there, tucked under a jutting slab of rock, was a shallow depression, almost a small cave, partially filled with fallen earth and stones. It wasn't much, but it was out of the direct line of sight from the ravine edges,
and the overhang offered some protection from grenades or casual observation from directly above.
We settled Dmitri as comfortably as possible. Vasily quickly repositioned the DP-28 to cover the approach around the bend. I still hadn't found my PPSH. I had my pistol, a Tokarev, but with only a few spare magazines, it felt like a child's toy against what we were facing.
Suddenly, a clatter of stones from above, near the bend we just passed. We all froze. German voices, closer now, sharper.
Patrol, Ivan breathed, his eyes narrowed. He'd taken up a position near the mouth of our little alcove, his Mosin Nagant ready.
Were they coming down? Had they spotted our tracks? My hand went to the Tokarev. This could be it. A desperate, close-quarters fight in the guts of the earth. The devil's anvil was indeed ready, and we were the metal caught within its jaws.